Happy Friday. I'm Jen Wilson, and I'm here with Amy Vetter, and we're a little late. Sorry about that. We're here for our leadership lunch chat, and we're glad to be back together because we haven't had a chance to process issues facing the profession in a few weeks together. And so we're appreciative of anybody here that is, attending after a little hiatus that we've had. So welcome back. And Amy and I thought today we might talk a little bit about really based in her recent experiences on the internship path with her son, and just both of us deeply steeped in talent and pipeline, thinking about like what does it take to attract people to your firm, and what sort of messages sort of work and don't. And, what does that recruitment experience look like when we're talking about on-campus recruiting and interns and young people and first years? What is that whole thing looking like? And what are some things that we as leaders could do to be more strategic about it maybe, and also think about how we could stand out and, what it's going to take to build that future pipeline. So I'm going to start with you, Amy. You take it from there and take it wherever you're going to go, and we'll go where the conversation takes us. How about that?
Sure. So hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Good to be here, Jen, with you. So this topic, I think, has been hard at all levels. I don't think this is just the partnership, getting your head around this, but this is even at the manager level, senior manager level of just, what we hear all the time, that this generation is different, in quotes, of the talent pipeline. And I would say it is different. And one of the things that makes it different is that this generation is definitely more purpose-driven. And so a lot of the firms that I talk about recruiting and retention of staff and keeping them excited about the work that they do, part of the issue is, and I think has always been, we fall back on compensation, which compensation is an important part of how we pay people. However, pay is not the only evaluation metric of this generation. And I'll use the example of my older son. He had an opportunity at a large corporation and went with a smaller company for less pay because it was so purpose driven. And it drove him to the things that he always wanted to do with the degree that he got. And, my youngest son, looking at internships, he's definitely looking for what differentiates a firm, because all the firms come into colleges saying the same things, similar benefits, that sort of thing. So what is actually the thing that helps you as a firm stand out that's different from other firms? And it's something that we don't think about because it is what we've always done, and that has been good enough in the past. But what got you here is not going to get you there. And so and I have recently hired in someone in their early 20s as well, and had this conversation at a firm last week. And she was talking about, what she was looking for is the website, the purpose of what the company was doing, looking on Glassdoor, all of these other things that maybe we don't consider are our differentiators and what makes someone excited to come into work. And it's not just about, I understand that I'm a new person and I need to learn, but I also want to know how my work feeds into something bigger with meaning, so that I understand why I'm doing this work to learn it, and not just delegate, say, you need to get these tasks done, but not give the bigger picture of the purpose behind it, who you're helping, what you're solving, that sort of thing. So it expands the conversation, and it's actually pushing us in these firms, in leadership positions, to change our communication, to make us step back and think a little bit more and broader and more multidimensional about the work that we do and how we help and what is the purpose behind it and what makes it different.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I was thinking about just now, there was an Ernst & Young survey done, and I don't know exactly when it was done, but I know I read it last December. So, okay, it's a year old. But they were surveying NextGen talent and talking about like what's important to you in a career in accounting. Like what are the criteria or the things that when you're contemplating your career choice or your next position or which first position you're going to take, what's important. And there was a list of items, flexibility, things that we might expect, what I'll call normal HR, why work for us things. And then there were some interesting things like career stability, which I thought was interesting. Real world impact, you just pointed to that. How does what I'm going to do connect to something bigger? How does it make a difference? And not just sort of like inside our firm, but I want to know, am I making a global impact? One of the things these younger folks did talk about was ESG type services and being interested in knowing that there was a make a difference factor. And so there's research available. That's the first thing that we could access that will tell us a lot about, next gen talent motivators, what high schoolers are motivated by, what college students are motivated by. Pew Research, PEW Research does a great job on demography and talking about and testing the things that are important to people. And they, survey thousands and thousands, and it's really great research. So there's all these different places we could look for what's important to the audience that I'm trying to, communicate with, and then appealing to those motivators authentically. We don't want to manipulate them. They have to really be things that are unique, special, and different, or are things that we offer at our organization. But I do think that we tend to, especially in recruiting, sort of replay. On campus, we're going to go in the spring and the fall, and we're just going to sort of replay the same playbook, and we're not going to think about, what's important. You mentioned it isn't just salary, but I will tell you, having done the National Pipeline Advisory Group study and really digging in to that data, starting salary does matter. And not just starting salary compared to other firms. I know a lot of our CPA firm friends, they're like, hey, man, I'm super competitive. We try to pay attention to what the big four are doing and try to pay equally. Well, we're not just competing with other accounting firms. We're competing. Everybody wants an accounting major. Everybody wants an accounting major, So we have to compete with other industries. And we have to recognize that actuarial jobs and economics jobs and finance jobs, they're all paying more out of school. So we've got to look at that piece too. But it isn't just money, it's these other things. And how can we tell our story organizationally such that people could hear, if it's important to them and you're able to somehow resonate with them with those messages, you have a better shot at having them choose you.
Yeah. And I absolutely think salary is important. It's just table stakes.
Yes.
And what, really kind of brought upon this conversation with us is differentiation, right? And so what makes my firm different? If salary is must be competitive in the market, and my benefits are competitive in the market. I have a 401k, I have insurance, I have wellness benefits, so on and so forth. What differentiates my firm from a purpose-driven perspective? So, if you're verticalized and go that route, how are you explaining the benefits to your clients? Do you have actual examples of case studies where you've turned businesses around or helped communities because of the financial work that you're doing with a business or a not-for-profit or a company that's actually changing infrastructure for EVs, so really like bringing that client relationship and impact of the financial work that we do and making it a message about why you do the work you do, that differentiates a firm. And too often what we're coming in and saying, whether it's a client or recruitment, is we offer audit, we offer tax, we offer advisory services. That really means nothing. Like it really doesn't. So how do I know your firm is different from the one down the street? And what makes up your people? And why do your people care about the outcome of these financial engagements? Am I just another cog on the wheel, whether I'm a staff person there, or whether I'm a client there? Or where do we differentiate the client experience so that when you come into my firm, you're going to understand the impact that you are making to a business? For me, I mean, that was why I became an accountant, because of the small business owners in my family, and watching the struggle of small business owners and really thinking, if I get this knowledge, I'm going to be able to bring this knowledge in and turn this around, right? So when I started out in accounting, I really didn't know how the work that I was doing as a staff associate in audit was going to help me get to that ultimate goal of being able to help other business owners be able to achieve their dreams, not worry that their businesses are going to fail. I didn't understand the audit work that I was doing and how that helps the people that invest in that company. And if I am a believer in sustainability and I want to work on clients that are demonstrating sustainability initiatives, how is my financial work able to help them report on that and make sure that those initiatives keep going forward and they're able to get the funding that they need and so forth to keep expanding that out? So that's a differentiation in messaging rather than the work. It's the value that we do and the why behind it, which really drives that excitement of not only the people that work for you, but also the people that want to do work with your firm as well.
Yeah. Well, and I was just thinking, Amy, that what you're talking about is like telling client stories,
Yeah.
And so like some people may think, okay, we'll pull our marketing department together. Let's pull HR together. We've got to there's work to be done in the storytelling. And yes, it'd be nice to tell these stories on the website or, podcasts or blogs or whatever. Yeah, okay. But right this minute, like tomorrow, if you're going to do it, Monday, if you're going to do any more interviews, with potential candidates, when it's your turn to do a little telling, which of course we shouldn't be doing right away, we want to do it later after we've learned more about the person and learned what's important to them. Telling client stories, and not naming names, of course, but like
impact,
what industries we serve and how our services make a difference, and how people benefit, how they use them, why they come to us for them, what need are they trying to solve for, like all of that. It's stories we have in our minds and our hearts. We know them because we serve clients and we can tell those stories, and we just don't. We tell we're very committed to quality here, and we offer a lot of flexibility, and we have lots of training, and we'll help you get your CPA license, and we have like this, I don't know, I'm going to call it like a benefits list, features, list of features that we're, knocking off. And we think that they're what people want to hear, but they're really kind of inspired by or enthralled or drawn in by the stories of the differences that we've made for others, both clients and talent. stories of talent that have succeeded and maybe have had different pathways. One thing we definitely learned in NPAG is that a lot of young people want to know, like, can I have more of a lattice pathway than a ladder pathway? Can I move laterally around? Do I have to, well, if I'm going to start in tax, do I have to stay in tax? Will I always serve clients? Are there operational roles or leadership roles? Will I specialize? Could I specialize in an industry, or could I do consulting or advisory work? Like, what are my options? And then after I do, work at your organization, and nobody wants to say, like, someday if you choose to leave us, in the review, in the interview process, we're acting like, I think you're going to work here for your whole life, which is impractical thinking, and also kind of creepy to young people because they are not thinking they're going to do their whole life with you. So it's okay to say, hey, if you ever were to leave us, here are all the things that are out there career-wise for you. There's all these options out there afterwards, so like accountants and CPAs and consultants from our firm, they go out in the world and do these things. And so, not necessarily encouraging turnover, but acknowledging, tell me my pathways. What are my choices here? And not make it sound stuck, because that, if I don't understand what you do, and then it sounds like if I make a choice here, join one of these departments, I hope I make the right choice, or I could be stuck. So
yeah, well, and I think that's an important point of just firm transformation, period, and firm thinking is really important. I mean, I'm definitely seeing that there is an issue right now with, there are people that feel pigeonholed where I've gone down the path, I'm actually a manager. So now how do I get tax experience? How do I get audit experience? But I'm too expensive to put over there, which then you're forcing someone out. And so it's really important that you're not just thinking about this from a recruiting standpoint, but you're thinking about it from a retention standpoint, because what I find a lot is people really, not everybody wants to be a leader. Not everybody wants to be leading a firm. And some people are better at client work than they are at running a business. It's a totally different type of role. And a lot of people get shocked once they become partner of being taken away from a lot of the work that they like to do that they cannot do anymore. And those realistic job options need to be talked about so that, in a corporation, people can be lifetime managers. Like, they don't have to leave the corporation. They might want to switch departments as a manager and learn a new role. And, thinking about how those opportunities happen. The other thing I wanted to address that you said, as I thought was really important, and I'm just hearing it fresh with my son going to these events every single week or multiple events a week. But it's been interesting to hear his perspective, and one of his perspectives being how when a firm shows up with everybody, how much more impressed he is with the firm. So the campus recruiter, but also the partner, the senior managers, the staff, so that there's like lots of people to talk to. You're really getting an idea of what the culture is there. Everyone's talking about things from their perspective. And, he was also talking about how important the campus recruiter is to being a part of a firm presentation where they're coordinating it and making sure each person is talking about things from their role or their department or giving a good feel for what it's like to be in that workday. But I have found it really interesting to hear the differences when, they just send some staff people, but not a partner, or the campus recruiter doesn't show up, or that sort of thing, and how important these roles are in making people excited about the work that they're, getting ready to go into.
unbelievable and so important. And I do think that, there are times when firms just sort of throw bodies at it, and or throw no bodies at it because they're all too buried in work, and the only person there is the on-campus recruiter. And
Right.
yeah, I think that's so important to think about. Is just it's a visual example or a visual reflection of the firm's commitment to these candidates.
Yeah.
Like, but the body count your son is seeing, it's like, they seem very committed. They have no one here. They're not committed, and I mean, you don't want to just, have like 100 people show up, but you want to have people very intentionally show up. But that's a really interesting reflection.
I thought so too.
Yeah, it does it tells them something about, how important is this process and how important are these future leaders joining our firm that start out of school with nothing. How important are they to us? And I love that idea that he is examining that based on who is there and who's available for him to talk to. That's smart. I love it. Well, I know we could spend tons of time. We got off on a roll here, and we probably just barely scratched the surface. That sounds about right for leadership lunch chat. I do want to point to the social post here because Mallory Vincent had a great post that talks a little bit about how important it is to know your people and honor their areas of interest and try to find ways that we as employers can achieve personal goals for our people. So take a look at that post, and thanks everybody for participating today or listening to the recording after. Amy and I are always interested in your ideas and perspectives and things you'd like us to cover in this. So don't hesitate to talk to us in social or reach out to us directly. We'd be happy to talk to you. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next Leadership Lunch Chat. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.